In this video, we are looking at how to add and subtract rational expressions. In order to add or subtract rational expressions, being the fact that these are fractions, you need to have same denominators. So when you have two rational expressions that have the same denominators, it's very straightforward. All you have to do is add, step one being add or subtract the numerators, and then you put it over your common denominator. And then you check to see if you can reduce it any further. So looking at our 6.3 to 6.4 quiz review, number 1 has 3x plus 4 over x minus 4, and you're adding 9 over x minus 4. So this is an example where you have an addition where you have the same denominator. You have a denominator of x minus 4 in both of those. So since they are the same, you can go forward and actually then combine your fractions together. When you do that, you keep that denominator the same, x minus 4. And then we are going to add together our numerators. And when we do that, since we're dealing with polynomials, you need to add the common terms. So you have 3x right here. That has nothing to combine with on the other side. So you have 3x plus 4 plus 9 is plus 13. So this is our fraction after adding them together. Now you look to see if you can reduce this at all. So looking at the numerator, can you factor that? And you cannot. There's no common factor there, nothing to factor here. So this is your final answer. Now looking at an example where we have different denominators, what you have to do is get common denominators. So let's take a look at a problem like number 3. Number 3 is going to be one of our more complicated problems. So number 3, again on our quiz review. So you've got 1 over x squared plus 5x plus 6 minus 2x over x squared plus 7x plus 10. So in order to get common denominators, step 1 up here tells us we need to factor each denominator completely. So factoring x squared plus 5x plus 6, we get x plus 2 and x plus 3. So that's taking the place of that. Second fraction, factoring this out, you get x plus 5 times x plus 2. Okay, so identifying your common denominator. What's misleading about the common denominator is it's not what the two fractions have in common. So for example, both fractions have the x plus 2, but rather it's what you can do to make them be common, meaning what is the combination of all of the factors. So starting with the first fraction, you have a factor of x plus 2 and you have a factor of x plus 3. And then your second fraction has the factor of x plus 5, and it also has that same factor of x plus 2, which we accounted for right here. So we do not need to write that twice. So this then is our common denominator, x plus 2 times x plus 3 times x plus 5. So then what we have to do is we need to make both fractions have that. So the one on the left has the x plus 2, it has the x plus 3, but what it's missing is the x plus 5. So you multiply the top and the bottom of the fraction by x plus 5. The next fraction has the x plus 5, it has the x plus 2, but it's missing the x plus 3. So you multiply top and bottom by x plus 3. Okay, so in order to actually subtract these two fractions together, you need to have terms to subtract in your numerator. So that means you have to multiply out your numerator so you can combine together your like terms. So our fraction on the left, the denominator is x plus 5 times x plus 2 times x plus 3. That's your common denominator. And the top, you've got 1 times x plus 5. So that's just x plus 5. Bring down the minus. Second fraction, you have your common denominator, x plus 5 times x plus 2 times x plus 3. And you need to multiply out your numerator. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 3 is plus 6x. So 2x plus 6x. Okay, x plus 3. Okay, Okay, so then now we can combine together our fractions into one. So that equals, we have our common denominator, x plus 5, x plus 2, x plus 3. And then we are subtracting our numerator. So you need to subtract together like terms. So in the we always want to put this in standard form, so you want your highest exponent first. We're going to start with this 2x squared. There's no x squared on the other side. It's a minus 2x squared, so it's negative 2x squared. Then we have x minus 6x would be minus 5x, and then plus 5 with nothing to combine with on the other side. So that's the fraction that we get when we subtract them together. Now I want to make sure though that I can't simplify this at all. So if I were to simplify it, that would mean that I would be able to factor that numerator. And if I try to factor it, if I do a times c, so negative 2 times 5, that gives me negative 10. Are there any factors of negative 10 that would add to give me negative 5? So the factors of 10 are 2 and 5, 1 and 10. And there's no way to make that happen, which means I can't factor it, which means this is my final answer.